He's Jay Bilas. The 13th annual State Farm Champions Classic returns tonight. It's Duke, Michigan State, and then it'll be Kansas and Kentucky. That'll be at the United Center in Chicago, and Jay will be working with Dan Schulman and Holly Rowe. Good to see you. Before I get to basketball, you being a lawyer, I want you to represent Michigan and Jim Harbaugh in this situation that's going on with the Big Ten.
It's primarily, Dan, a due process argument. I don't think they're going to get to the merits of what happened and exactly what evidence the Big Ten may have. It's a question of, did the Big Ten follow its rules, and did Michigan get due process of a hearing and to present their evidence before a punishment was handed down? I haven't read the Big Ten bylaws. I don't know what their sportsmanship, this is all under the aegis or the umbrella of sportsmanship policy. I don't know what it says, but I think it's a little bit of an uphill climb for Michigan here, and I think the Big Ten is probably going to wind up having the authority to ultimately do what it did.
Is there cheating in basketball? I mean, this is sign stealing. I don't know. And we had the Astros in baseball. Is there anything that is still nefarious with college basketball, given that you have NIL, transfer portal?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there's always been, players being paid and all that stuff that's sort of outside the rule book. And nobody even knows what the rule book is right now with NIL. The players are not supposed to be paid for play, but that everybody who had any brain in their head knew that's what NIL was going to be. But I don't know of any, there's no in-person scouting for basketball. I know there's a lot of information sharing. So if I've got a friend, say I'm on the staff at Dayton and we're playing, George Washington, and I've got a friend on another staff who just played George Washington, I know there's sharing of scouting reports, but I don't think that there's anything nefarious about that. I think the problem for Michigan here was the violation of the in-person scouting rule. And, it used to be in basketball, football, you could go to opponents' games and have advanced scouting in person, but they got rid of that, I think, more for cost than anything.
All right. What should we be looking for tonight with this doubleheader?
Four of the preseason best teams in the country, I think the lowest rated team was 16th, and that's Kentucky. In the first game, Michigan State has not played well, and they're a veteran team that went to the Sweet 16 last year, and they've got 4 out of their 5 starters back. The only one gone is Joey Hauser. And I think they're at 2 of 31 in their first 2 games from 3. They've been out-rebounded. They have not looked the part of a Michigan State team. I tend to think that that's going to change tonight, and it better. Duke just came off a loss against Arizona in a heavyweight fight in Cameron Indoor Stadium. It was so great to see that kind of game this early in the season. And you can tell that Tommy Lloyd of Arizona and John Shire of Duke, want to play those type of games and test their teams. And Duke's got some adjustments to make. They got out-rebounded badly against Arizona. And Arizona kind of exposed that shot makers at the 4 position, they can lay off the 4-man and clog the lane. So Duke's going to have to adjust to that. Best
prospect in the building tonight will be who?
I think there are about 15 guys off these 4 rosters that are going to play in the NBA. I think Jonathan Givony projected 7 are going to be taken in the first round this year in the draft if they were to come out. It's probably between, I'd say, Justin Edwards at Kentucky, the freshman, or the sophomore Kyle Filipowski at Duke. They're very different players, but Kentucky's got kind of I don't want to say old school, but it's John Calipari going back to, hey, we're getting the best freshmen, and we're gonna develop talent, and at the end of the year we're gonna be really good, but we're gonna be really young at the beginning and bring them along. He did the transfer thing the last couple of years, and it didn't work out quite the way. They weren't as talented, but older. And I think he's gone back to I want super talent, and they've got super talent this year.
The 3-point shot and how important it is. These coaches, when they go out recruiting, like how important is it that they're looking for that 3-point shooter? And like, where is that at the priority list of bringing in these players?
It's pretty high. It's not quite NBA high, because I think, you've noticed this because you know basketball so well, but there's so many low post big guys in the country right now that are among the best players. They're not as coveted in the NBA, so they're staying in school longer, whether it's Zach Edey, Ryan Kalkbrenner at Creighton, you name Hunter Dickinson at Kansas, you name it. And years ago, those guys would have all been gone, but now they're coming back. One, they can make a lot of money in college, but they're not first round draft picks like they've been in the past. I think if you can stretch it, you're way more valuable. But you still need rim protection, and that's one thing. Kentucky has it, but their rim protectors are hurt right now, so they're playing kind of a smaller lineup, 5 out, and I think that will change when their big guys come back.
He's Jay Bilas. He'll be on the call with Dan Schulman and Holly Rowe tonight. It's a double header on the mothership: Duke, Michigan State, followed by Kentucky and Kansas. When we look back on Loyola Marymount, were they ahead of everybody with what is today's? Was it a different style with, we're going to take the 3, we're going to give you the 2, and we're just going to run you all night long?
A little bit, yeah. Paul Westhead, who I had a kind of a connection to, I went to high school with his daughters, Monica and Patrice, at Rolling Hills High School in California. And I also played with Jack McKinney's son, John, when he fell off the bike and all that stuff happened with the Showtime Lakers right around 1980, 81, give or take, when I was a sophomore and junior in high school. And I think when Westhead got kind of bounced around a little bit, it seemed like he said, okay, you want me to play fast? I want to play fast. And I remember looking at, I was an grad assistant at Duke at the time. And I remember looking at like press guides of opponents, and everybody had their career high against Loyola Marymount. Everybody. If they played them, that was every player's career high because the scores were up in the 120s and sometimes 130. But yeah, they ran and defense was not at a premium. Even though like Westhead grew up in the Philly kind of LaSalle, St. Joe's tree, where that's not the way they played. But yeah, I think they were a little bit ahead of their time. But I think you can balance it and run, get easy baskets, quick threes. I mean, you'd rather have a 3 in transition than work 20 seconds to get one where it's going to be more contested. It's not always true, but that's that. I think back then, Dan, we didn't understand because the 3 came into college in '87. And we didn't understand the asymmetrical threat it was. Remember back then when Pitino was at Providence and everybody's like, oh my God, look at all the threes they're shooting. What, they shoot 12 a game? Now you shoot 12 in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different game now. But it's opened things up and it's a little bit more exciting game. But I'll tell you what, like the people our age that are going, geez, these big guys, they don't know how to play. Like, they're having to guard ball screens and recover, and they're guarding multiple actions, and you worry when they pick up a foul. Holy cow. Like, my biggest task was I had to meet my assignment at the free throw line and fight him for low post position. That was the end of it. I never guarded a ball screen in college.
But I go back to that Pitino Providence team with Billy Donovan. I mean, that wasn't a great team as much as it felt like it was a system. Like he had a system before. Nolan Richardson had a system, but that was defense. But here was Pitino. I mean, he was so far ahead of his time with utilizing the 3-point shot as a weapon.
He always has been in everything. He's probably, along with Bob Knight, maybe the best teacher of the game I've come across. But he's going to look to what's his advantage. I mean, a lot of, Dan, you've seen this as much as I have. A lot of coaches will talk about how they want to play, and maybe not enough think about how are we going to win. Doesn't matter how I want to play. How are we going to win with the personnel we have? And Pitino's always been at the forefront of how are we going to win.
When you see Zion Williamson now, what goes through your mind?
Same thing that went through my mind the first time I saw him is that there's never been anybody like this on a basketball floor. And the only thing that's kept him from being the player among the players in the league has been injury. And when he's healthy, his numbers are ridiculous. His efficiency is a joke, and he's freaking unstoppable. And the only other player I remember saying that about that I've never seen anything like this on a basketball floor is Victor Wembanyama, because at 7'4", he's doing things that nobody's ever done at that size. And I'm not surprised he's maybe a little bit surprised he's having that much success this early. But I'm not surprised he's having success. You knew if he stayed healthy, it was going to come. But this early, it's been pretty remarkable, I think.
And you, of course, were a lockdown defender in college. How would you guard Victor Wembanyama?
I would start screaming for help and
As soon
double
as you
team.
got to the arena?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be in the game very long if I were. But that's kind of the thing. I mean,
Well,
we
wait a minute. You played against Samson, though, didn't you?
Well, I was in the game when Sampson was there. Like that was my first ACC game. It was we played number one Virginia. It was like late December or early December in 1983, 82, 83. And I did a great defensive job on Sampson. I held him to 36 points.
Okay.
And it was remarkable. And I felt really bad about that. I thought I need to find something else to do. And then 2 weeks later, he had 40 against Ohio State. He was guarded by Clark Kellogg and Herb Williams. And I thought, well, maybe I don't suck as much as I thought. They had 2 players on him, and he had 40.
Are you at Duke's practice now?
Yeah, they're finishing up their shoot around. Then Michigan State comes in, then Kansas and Kentucky.
You're not going to get if Coach K was coaching Duke right now, would he have a problem with you being on a Zoom call?
No, he wouldn't have a problem. Coach K treated me as a broadcaster much like as a player. He didn't notice me when I was in the gym.
I said this when Coach Knight died, that you did me a favor when you talked to him one time, and he wanted to know if anybody, I'm paraphrasing, anybody at SportsCenter knew basketball, and you mentioned that I did, and it changed my relationship with him up until the very end. I was in contact with somebody who was close to him. But I wanted to thank you again for saying that, because A, you were correct that I did know basketball, but he accepted me because of you, kind of validating that. So I appreciate that.
Well, he accepted you because of you, not anything I said. I mean, it was just a discussion. He didn't find too many people at that time at the company that he trusted. And on the basketball side, and I tried to talk him out of it, that there were, and you were the one. But it was not just basketball knowledge, Dan. I don't mean to blow smoke at you, but it was because of how trustworthy you are, and so I'm not surprised you two had a good relationship.
Have fun. Thanks for joining us. My best to Holly and Dan, and we'll be watching tonight.
Always, brother. Thank you for having me.
That's Jay Bilas. He'll be on the call tonight. So it's a doubleheader. It's Duke and Michigan State. That's 7 Eastern on the mothership, followed by Kentucky and number 1 Kansas. That's the United Center in Chicago.